What's going on, everybody? Happy Thanksgiving. Sorry for the short delay there. Welcome into an all-new episode, or I guess live version of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I can't even think right now because that was so freaking fun. Packers get a massive, massive win in Detroit on Thanksgiving. Improbable as all hell. Don't think any of us quite saw that type of game coming. Jordan Love, phenomenal. Not perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. You had the bizarro AJ Dillon play and some passes that were just ever so close and a drop by Dobbs and some things like that. But my goodness, can you see a little bit of the vision in that game, even without all of the guys that were missing, from David Bakhtiari to Aaron Jones to Dontavian Wicks to Luke Musgrave to Devondre Campbell, Jair Alexander, obviously Rasul Douglas traded, Savage. We can go on and on and on. Having that many players out in that game on the road in Detroit, and to really put that performance together, I thought the play calling was extraordinary in that game. I thought the pass protection held up pretty darn well. There was a couple of plays where Jordan had to escape and kind of make some magic happen, but man, the pass protection was really, really good throughout the day. Receivers, tight ends, everyone was getting open. Jordan was finding them. He was so freaking accurate throughout the course of the day, throwing from bizarro arm angles, throwing on the run, had the huge run towards the end of the game. Just a really, really freaking fun game. And I don't know what more you could possibly want. There is no wet blanket, Andy, on this one. These are the ones, right? When you watch a Chargers game and there's that little piece of you that's crying at your side of like, yeah, they got the win, but my goodness, did the Chargers shoot themselves in the foot 1,000? There's none of that in this game. This was a earned 1,000,000% Packers victory. They took that game. They owned that game. They came out strong early. They never let go. You knew Detroit was going to fight back in the second half. There was 0% question of that. And they get paid too. That's a really good football team. You knew they were going to find a way to put up some points. Green Bay was trying to make them run clock towards the end, which was the right thing to do. I loved the vast majority of the decisions in this game. I know there was some, decisions here and there of like the 4th and 1 or kicking the field goal. I didn't mind going for it on 4th and 1 in that situation rather than taking the field goal, specifically because Anders Carlson had already missed an extra point and like things had not been going great. There'd been some inconsistencies there. So you got to get the yard. Unfortunately, you have the snafu with Dillon and Love, and it looked like Dillon specifically going the wrong way, but I didn't hate that decision. I love the decision to go for 2 to go up 17. I know some people are saying like, hey, just kick the extra point, make it 16. But again, Anders already missed an extra point in that game. And I think what people fail to realize sometimes is going from a 1-score game to a 2-score game, or a 2-score game to a 3-score game, especially at that point in the game, is a massive change in the game. That makes the opposite team completely one-dimensional, in this case, the Lions, obviously, and they would have had to just throw every single down, and it just gives you sort of a blank check to pin your ears back and rush the passer and play coverage the rest of the game. Now, obviously, they didn't get it, and it ends up being a 15-point game. You're still okay with that. That's not the end of the world. So I love the decision to go for 2. There was nothing that I really had any major complaints on from a coaching or decision-making standpoint in this game, at least at first watch through. SDN, I was going to wait for a little bit, but absolutely happy pizza day. This is the rare day where I get to combine Thanksgiving pizza with victory pizza. Oh, hell yeah. We are celebrating today, my friends. That again is the game. That's the game we've been waiting for. There have been other wins. I thought the game against Chicago in week 1 was a pretty convincing win, and you didn't know what either team was at the time. But outside of that, I know you get the Rams win that was convincing, but it's against Brett Rippon. And even then you had some things that went on that day that you're just kind of gnawing at your side of like, maybe it wasn't quite that great. This one was great. It's a great win. There's no two ways around it. There's no raining on anyone's parade on this one. Really, really clutch performance by the entire team to be that banged up, to not practice, to come, really after their last game and have to go on a short week, early game in Detroit. I can't say enough. And I said in the offseason, I thought that there would be games this year that they would shock the world and get wins on. And I said there would be other games. Go back to your Saints or your Raiders or your Broncos, whatever you want to define it as, that they would completely just not show up and have those disappointing performances. But we were waiting for this specific game. Chargers, good win. No question about it. This was a great, great win. And really, again, showed proof of what this team can be moving forward with these young pieces. And I tweeted it out. Week 12 last year, Packers, Eagles. Rodgers goes down, Love comes in and shows, hey, I can play in this league, which really precipitates the decision of, going with Jordan Love in this offseason and trading away Aaron Rodgers. Week 12 this week, the week that, in my opinion, Jordan Love showed I'm the guy. And there had been some ups and downs. There's still going to be ups and downs. I don't expect it to just be, well, now it's smooth sailing from here on out. There's still going to be, some things that he needs to get better at. There's still going to be those peaks and valleys. But to me, he announced himself on a worldwide stage on Thanksgiving that he is the guy. And I don't think there's any looking back from that right now. And oh, by the way, making that decision, going from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, don't look now. Packers one game better at this point in the season this year than they were at this exact same point a season ago last year. Now, work to be done. We're not hanging any banners in Green Bay for pulling up a victory and still being a game below 500. But man, this just felt totally different and really showed proof of potentially what this team can be moving forward. All right, happy to take some chats here and answer any questions. Really, really fun game to discuss. Okay, we have a dispute. Was the 53-yard pass to Watson underthrown? I said most quarterbacks can't throw 60 yards. What a game. Great for Jordan Love. Yeah, I think that was a little bit underthrown by Jordan. I, again, have to go back and watch it. I don't mean to sound like a coach at a press conference, but I do want to go back and watch it. I'd have to look back and see, like, was he under pressure? Did he have to fade back a little bit? Either way, they get the completion, and Jordan had plenty of great throws throughout this game. He put that in a position where Watson could still go get it. And this is some of the stuff that we've been waiting for, especially with Christian Watson. He went out and he went up and he got that catch. And those are the sort of things that we've just been waiting for. Matt LaFleur always says, football is an imperfect sport. What you want to see, especially, and I think something that's really been missing through the course of this year so far, is when one person maybe doesn't do something perfectly, or maybe they make a mistake, can somebody else pick them up and make a play for them? And I thought, whether that throw was underthrown or not, it took a lot of effort from Christian Watson to go up and say, that's my ball, I'm going to get it, and we're going to get this big completion to start the game. And you want to talk about this team showing consistent signs of growth? Go back to Minnesota week 1 last year. Last year, Christian Watson gets the opening deep ball. Aaron throws it to him, could not have handed it off to him any better. The beyond most perfect pass in the history of the world, and Watson can't come up with it. This week against the Lions on the road, and he gets the opening pass deep ball again. Not a perfect pass, not one that is just laid up and, he just gets to kind of catch it. He goes up and says, nah, screw it. Don't care if it's a perfect pass. I'm going to go up, get that ball, make it mine. And we're going to set the tone right away with a big explosive right out of the gate. That set the tone for the entire game. Just like when Watson dropped the ball in week 1 last year, and it just set the tone for the entire game and everything kind of fell apart from there. This one set the tone in the opposite direction, got the big catch. Huge play. And again, like I said, just set Green Bay up for success for the rest of the day. Waxing gibbous, man, we are all moon worshipers now. We're going to all have to check the moon patterns for the rest of the year. All of my bets moving forward will be based strictly on where the moon is placed and whether it's in a waning or a waxing or whatever other gibbuses or gibbousi are possible. But man, what a weird, bizarro thing to have come up on a tweet the day before the game and then sort of be this bizarro social media rallying cry throughout the course of the day today. But man, I will absolutely take it. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Coach, I'm glad you brought this up because I think the defense deserves a lot of credit. Man, defense and defensive coordinating is a thankless position because there's very rarely that good things happen, right? You're going to give up points and it's always going to feel frustrating anytime you give up points. To hold this Lions team at home in their home to 14 points, come up with how many 4th down stops? I think it was 5 in a row at one point, get multiple turnovers. Carl Brooks with the fumble. Just all day you get the Jonathan Owens touchdown. Like that, not only did they get turnovers, and you look at it this way, right? The defense was net 7 in this game. I guess they did give up the late points. Sorry, my apologies. So what they ended up giving, how much was the end total? I have to even go back and look at the score. But either way, they get 7 points on defense. So they give up on the day 22. 8 of those arguably sort of in garbage time-ish, But either way, they get 7 on their own, which kind of, again, counteracts some of what the Lions did on offense as well. So have to be so impressed with the defense in this game. And as much as it might pain some people, give Joe Barry credit. If you would have gone into this game at any point in the year, right? If I would have told you at the beginning of the year that Green Bay, I don't even care who the opponent is, but Green Bay goes on the road against a tough offensive opponent and doesn't have Devondre Campbell and the entire starting secondary for the game, you probably would have been like, all right, hold on to your butts. But Joe Barry somehow found a way. Again, they allowed some points at the end there. Not super concerned. They were willing to give up the points to take over minutes off the clock to kind of wind things down. Not super upset by that. They get the touchdown on their own. Impressive performance by the defense, and they deserve. Rashan freaking Gary was unbelievable. These are the sort of games that we need to see consistently. And Gary's been great all year, but from Rashan Gary, Christian Watson, that's the type of players that they are. They have that star-making ability and that star potential and the ability to make massive plays at any given moment. Those two guys need to show up consistently like that. I know that's a tall ask, but you can see just the impact on the game that it has when those two guys are playing that way. Kenny Clark, I thought, was a menace all day on the interior of the defense. Just really, really fun stuff overall from this game. So excited to watch the tape. So excited to break it down now. So excited to break it down in the post game for tomorrow's episode. Just geeked up at the moment, as I think you can probably tell. What an effing game. Pizza for everyone. Amy, hell yeah. Hell freaking yeah. Everyone enjoy their victory and Thanksgiving pizza. Everyone should, that's for sure. My MVP besides Love, I have to go Rashan, right? Rashan, 3 sacks, forced fumbles, just a constant chaos creator all day long. You go back to some of those games, where Max Crosby tore up the Packers and was unblockable, where Aiden Hutchinson earlier in this year against Green Bay tore up the game and was unblockable. Like, you were kind of waiting and wanting, like, when's the Rashan Gary game like that, where he's just going to take over and say, screw you guys, we're winning this game and I'm going to make it so that you can't do anything. That was Rashan in this game. Absolute menace, awesome performance. And like I said, he's been playing great all year long. No question about it. He is, I think, yet to have a bad game in any capacity, but this was his great game. And it came at the exact right time and really forced a lot of issues for the Lions offense all throughout the day. Most hated Minnesota member for 2 months. And not only that, but Hall of Fame member, I think, for 2 months. Who are these guys playing in the green and gold this week? This is the team we've been waiting for. Thanks for all the great content yesterday, by the way, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, most hated Minnesotan. Yeah, this was a different brand of Packers football. I thought they were fast. I thought they were physical. I mean, we saw some hits. Jonathan Owens had a massive hit in the middle of the field. Offensively, they were much better on the offensive line than they were in week 4 against Detroit. I said number 1 on the pregame show today was they had to take care of the trenches. They had to be better in the trenches than they were in week 4. It started there. Kenny Clark, Rashan Gary, we already mentioned, but I thought the rest of that group held up really well as well. And then on the offensive side of the ball, again, a couple hiccups here and there, but the pass pro was good. Run blocking wasn't great, but I think they were right around like 3.9 yards per carry, at least in the middle of the game. I know they were. So a little bit better, but when you can play a more physical brand of football like that and really control the lines of scrimmage, it's certainly better than they did in week 4. You're going to give yourself a chance. And this was much better from the Packers all the way around. Brandon, hello from Alaska. My favorite person to cover the Packers by far. Appreciate the detailed approach. Imagine what they'll do with a run game. Brandon, that is super kind of you. Thank you for the super chat. And obviously, thank you everyone for the super chat so far. And that's, again, super nice of you for the comment as well. I'm so glad you brought this up because this has been something I've been harping on as of late. Jordan Love this year, even though he announced it today in a pretty big way, in my opinion, he's the guy. Jordan Love has had to play this season with a hand tied behind his back in multiple ways. First of all, actually, let's start with this, right? The pressure, I think it's like we're already forgetting just how much pressure there is on that position following Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. The pressure in his first season as a starter following those two massive legends is immense. And how he's handled that is incredible. Number two, no running game all year long. Like, there is not even like a hint of a substantial running game. Defenses do not have to be worried, even when Aaron Jones has been in, about like this devastating Packers run offense. And it has had to be Jordan Love. It has had to be the passing attack. Almost all of the burden, probably like 80-85% of the burden has been on Jordan Love and the passing offense. That's number two. Number three is, for the most part this year, the defense has not helped out either. This is a team that even when Green Bay goes and gets the lead, oftentimes the defense has been giving it right back, or the defense is getting down 7-0 right away, or they're behind, 17-3 early in the game. And who's that pressure lie on then to kind of come back and try to make the most of that? Jordan Love, when the defense knows what's coming and they know they don't have to honor the run game and they have to watch the pass with Jordan Love. He's had those three things working against him all year: the pressure of following a legend, complete lack of a run game, and defense not holding up their end of the bargain at huge chunks of this season. And that's not to say that Jordan Love has passed the test with complete aces, just aced it across the way or with flying colors, but still, what he's done, given the circumstances, deserves so much freaking credit. And what have we said all year long? We want to see improvement. We want to see him getting better week after week. These past handful of weeks have been monumentally better than even what it was. And that's not just him. And I give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit all season long for being like, it's not just Jordan. Everyone on offense needs to be better. He needed to be better as a play caller. We're now seeing everyone around him step up. We're seeing the line protect better. We're seeing better play calling. We're seeing, in this game, at least early in the game, better defense. We saw some complimentary football in this one. And amazing what happens to a young quarterback when some things start going right around him. You start seeing the real deal. That's what Jordan Love was today. And I don't know how you can't be super geeked up about what we saw on the football field today. Tyler, I will get that right now, my friend. Let's see. Sorry about that, Tyler. What's the free kick? Olsen said before halftime. So, little known rule, right before halftime, you can fair catch a ball. And I have to check if there has to be no time left on the clock at all, or if you can do it with 4 or 5 seconds left. That I'm a little less sure of. I'm not sure if they actually could have done it in that scenario. But at the end of the half, if you fair catch a ball, you have the ability to do a free kick, a free field goal with no rush from the spot that you fair caught the ball. So you literally can kick it off right from that spot. And if you make the field goal, you get 3 points, and they can't have anyone on the field during it. Again, no rush, no return, no nothing. So really, an obscure rule, one that doesn't get used very often. And again, I'd have to look at it unless somebody knows in the chat. I don't know if you can, because I know there's 5 seconds left on the clock when they fair caught it. I'm not sure if you can do it in that scenario. I'm not sure if it has to be at 000 if you fair catch it, because I think it might have to be 000 because you fair catch it and then you get an untimed down is what I believe it is. But either way, around that time, whether it's 000 or little time left, you can, again, do the free field goal and have no rush on the play. It's a unique play. It's only happened a handful of times throughout the history of the league, but kind of a fun one that can show up from time to time. All right. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone else's super chats. Jack, thank you so incredibly much. Really appreciate that. And Jerry, 1265, love it. I knew it was possible. The Watson catch was pure joy. Thanks for your content year-round, Andy. Jerry, you are more than welcome. As I mentioned on the show today, nothing I would rather be doing. Okay. So Eric says free kick is anytime. And Eric said as well, it's not a factor. Okay. So it can be done at any time. Good to know, but would have been an interesting decision with 5 seconds left. The other thing I think they have to, if the kick doesn't take 5 seconds, then you're setting the line. I don't know. There's some complications there and whether they should have done it. I liked what they did, more importantly than not, just getting the ball in Reed's hands, getting the timeout, and giving Carlson the opportunity at the end. But just going back, as I was mentioning, Jerry, just love being able to do this year round. Thank you guys so much for providing me the platform to do this. So insanely happy that I get to cover the team 365, talk about them every single day. I am beyond living my best life and favorite life. And that's in large part due to you guys and all of your support. So thank you very, very much, especially extra thankful on this Thanksgiving Day. All right, Jack, go Pack, go. I'm so thankful for this win. Me too, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Appreciate all you do. I've got my Jaden Reed jersey on, by the way, and can't wait to rep it. Awesome. As I said the other day, I think the Jaden Reed jersey is going up the Christmas list, power rankings for all the kids and probably some adults too in the world. He's been playing really fun football. I'm curious what you guys thought. I want to see in the chat. Was that a drop by Reed at the end? Was that a little bit off by Jordan Love? It's a tough catch. But to me, it went off Jaden Reed's fingertips. I think Ryan Wood said he tweeted out that he thought it was a miss by Jordan. To me, live, that looked like that was a catchable ball by Jordan in a super clutch situation, and it bounced off of Jaden Reed's hands. That's not to tear down Jaden Reed. Like I said, that's not an easy catch. And I think we're all super excited about Jaden, what he can bring to the table and what he's done specifically in this game. That touchdown catch, that was fun. Some really good stuff, but I am curious if you guys, all right. So angry casual fan thought it was a drop. I'm there with you. I think it's on Reed too. Again, it's not an easy catch. And I thought in a perfect world, does Jordan put that a little bit more on him? Yeah, probably. Right. But that's a catchable play. One you'd love to see Jaden Reed come down with, but it's an interesting one. All right, nuclear family. How foolish do I feel for rooting for losses in a high draft pick? This team is young and going to grow together and be great for a while. Is Owens the real deal? I'll start with the second piece first. I'm not ready to claim Owens is the real deal. He's had, I think, 4 weeks now where he's played significant time, and 3 of those weeks have been pretty freaking good. Really impressive football. Last week was not great at all. In fact, I think maybe my lowest graded performance for anyone on the entire season last week, including that big touchdown he gave up. So I'm not quite there. But Jonathan Owens as your basically like your fourth safety, that you can live with. That's a good spot for him. He's a good special teamer. He can come and fill in a pinch, and he came up with some big plays today. So you love to see those type of performances. When you get to that point, right? When you're on your fourth safety, you're not expecting hey, come in and be an all pro. You're hoping that they can make some plays and they can be consistent and they can be a solid performer. Owens has mostly showed that despite a hiccup this past week against the Chargers. But overall, like I said, 3 pretty good games, 1 really, really, really bad game, but not quite there on Owens quite yet. But again, as a backup rotational safety, awesome. Special teams guy, awesome. That I'm totally for. I think this is the thing with a young team, right? And this is why in years past, I will tell you that I have been on Team Tank in the past, or the Brett Hundley years. The Brett Hundley season, that was never going anywhere. And to get better draft picks throughout that, to me, I was more on the have competitive games, but ultimately have it turn up in losses. And I'm fine by that because Aaron's going to come back the next year and you're not even going to remember the year before at that point. That year I was more on team hey, get some losses. This year was never that way for me. Never got to that point because I do think it's important for this team to continue to grow and progress. There's a lot of talent on this roster right now. You're better off having these guys right now figure it out and learn how to win than hoping that you get to the 4th pick and that you can pull somebody great there. When the truth is they're probably going to end up picking in the top 12 somewhere around there anyway, although who knows now. But no matter where they pick, there's probably going to be a Hall of Famer on the board somewhere in the draft, right? No matter what pick they have, they just got to find him. And we've seen in the past when Green Bay's had top picks in the draft, sometimes it doesn't amount to anything. When they've had late first rounders, they've found gold at times, and they can find guys in the 3rd, 4th, not 3rd. I take that back. They can find guys in the 4th, 5th round that are amazing performers, like your Dontavian Wicks, your Romeo Dobbs, your Zach Toms. And I think there's ways to win in the draft, regardless of where you're selecting. There's not always ways that you can win on the field and have guys continue to grow and show what they're capable of. And to me, this year has been about these players, especially Jordan Love, growing and learning how to win. And we are starting to see that specifically with 3 wins in the past 4 games, including, if I would have told you 2 weeks ago that they beat the Chargers and the Lions in back-to-back games, I wouldn't have believed myself. So I'm sure most of you would not have believed that either. Feels pretty freaking good to get those back-to-back wins. You're probably now wishing of could you just got one from the Broncos or the Raiders, or maybe pulled off that Falcons game. But I think those are all part of the learning process. Sometimes you have to go through the crap in order to get out from the other side and come out clean from it. And they had to go through some of that stuff to learn. It sucks, but in the NFL and a lot of times in life, not to give out lame life lessons here, but you've got to learn from adversity and mistakes, and failure is a lot of times the best teacher. And one thing I was encouraged by was Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, just talking all off season and all year about how this team loves ball. And they're just they don't care that they've lost. They just want to get back and win. And they're grinding and doing everything. When you've got a team like that and they care about it and it matters to them, a lot of times they're going to find a way to overcome and learn from their mistakes and get better from it. And that's what we've seen. And again, it's really fun to watch this team and the way that they've bounced back and really played such better football through the course of the past handful of weeks. Carl the Truth Brooks, love it. He's finding ways to make plays every single week. And with Brooks, it's not always the most consistent. Like you will see some plays where, all right, it doesn't always look great, but man, when you come up with a big play every single week, you are on the right track, especially as a rookie in this league. Love me some Carl Brooks. Can't wait to see more of him. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. I'm really starting to think Love is the guy. In my opinion, he's played too many good games for it to be a coincidence. Yeah, I'm right there. And again, I think as they hopefully get a running game, I think that has the potential to even get better. And that excites the hell out of me, quite frankly. So yeah, I'm there with you. If nothing else, he's certainly he's obviously going to be the starter the rest of this year. He's earned himself next year as well. And I think you're going to start, if this even remotely continues, you're going to start hearing extension talks sooner rather than later with Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Happy holidays. 10 is the franchise QB. A lot of that in the chat today, which I love to see and cannot wait. Did I miss another super chat? I'm really bad at it. I got to get a moderator or something. Okay, why did Detroit get 3rd and 1 after a holding penalty? So this is a great question. I saw this online as well. Some fun things in this one. So holding is from the spot of the foul. So if you remember, he broke off a huge run and got down like to the 1 yard line, and the holding was at the 1 yard line, right? So it was, I think the play was like, I don't know what the down and distance was, but I think it was like maybe it was like 2nd and 5 from like the 16 or something like that. Well, whatever it was, like it brought it back to the 11, and because it was at the 1 yard line, so it brings back to the 11. So with that being the case, it moved it back to being 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1 or whatever it was, 3rd and 1 after the holding penalty. So it moved it back 10 yards from the spot of the foul. So the rush was something like 15 yards. And then there was the 10-yard holding penalty at the end of it from the 1 yard line. So they still got that extra yardage. And then it just made it 3rd and 1. So you replay the down from the spot of the foul. They could have theoretically, like, had it been the right situation, they could still get a first down. Like, let's say it's first and like, if it would have been like 1st and 10 from their own 20 yard line, and they rush all the way down to the 1 yard line, and there's a holding at the 1 yard line, it would have been 1st and 10 from the 11 still. And it would have been like, again, it just is 10 yards from the spot. And if you picked up the first down prior to that, then you picked up the first down prior to that. So from the spot of the foul, doesn't replay the entire down from the very beginning or anything like that. It's just a holding penalty from the spot of the foul. Interesting one. You don't see it a ton, but every once in a while, you'll see like a 1st and 17 or something like that. And that's the reason why, is that the holding penalty was like 3 yards down from the line of scrimmage. So you back it up 10, and instead of being, 2nd and 7, it's then 1st and 17. All right, just making sure. I'm making sure again that I caught all of the super chat. All right, sorry if I lost everyone there. I think I'm back. But saw this one too, Richard. Thank you so much, bro. No need to thank us. Your work speaks for itself. That is super kind of you as well. Princess, it is a Thanksgiving miracle. Man, you guys are just coming through huge with the super chats. Thank you so much. Sorry, I missed some of these. All right. Togrel Askarov. I love that name. What about taking running back in the first round? I am almost never a running back in the first round guy. Not my cup of tea. It can work. I mean, I don't think anyone's in Atlanta is too upset about having Bijan Robinson, although I do think they wish they would use him a little bit more. I don't think anyone in Detroit's too upset about having Jahmyr Gibbs, although again, I think sometimes they wish they would use him a little bit more. I do think things are trending back in where you have to have a running game right now in the NFL in order to have a decent amount of success. So it is swinging back a little bit for me, but almost always I'm never running back in the first round. But as I've said on numerous occasions already, Green Bay should be in a position where they take best player available and most talented player, because that's what they still need an influx of, is huge, talented, incredible players. If they can do that, they're going to be in a good spot. So prefer it not to be running back. But again, if you told me they took an amazing running back and he ended up amazing, like I'm not going to be too upset by that. Thank you for the time and answering my question. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for all you do for the Packers, and I'm thankful for your rise. I am thankful as well, nuclear family, and thank you so much for taking some time out of your Thanksgiving to come and chat, and of course for the super chat as well. J Love just slammed his junk on the table and said, "I'm the man. Green Bay versus the whole damn world. Go Pack, go." Love you, Andy. That's definitely one way to put it, Bryson. Yeah, I think you can probably put it that way. Just a awesome overall performance, and it wasn't like there were some throws, even kind of going back to this Chargers game, not to beleaguer that too much, but there were some throws as you go back and like watch the QB school this week where some of the stuff is so easy and just bad from the Chargers defense where it's like 5-step drop and there's a guy wide open in the middle of the field. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take that. There wasn't that in this game. There was still a lot of pressure, things he had to navigate up front. How many sidearm bizarro throws did he have to make, throwing on the run, just all of it. And he just came up with throw after throw after throw in some big time clutch situations. And then exclamation point at the end with the huge run on the QB keeper. So fun game for Jordan Love. And I just love that he announced himself on the stage like that on a Thanksgiving game. My favorite game since 83 Skins versus Packers, go Pack, go. I was, if it was Thanksgiving in 83 Skins versus Pack, I don't know if it was, probably wasn't, right? Because it's Cowboys and Lions more often than not. But I was probably not alive quite yet for that game. Or if I was in first stages of infancy. So don't remember that one quite yet, but I will absolutely take your word for it, He Soder. Love watching Love change arm angles on the throws. I think that's one of the cool parts. I think there's still times where maybe you would like to see him just kind of play a little bit more within the within the system and just kind of using basic fundamentals, but not going to be too upset with it, certainly on a day like today. And you love the ability that he has all those different swings in his golf clubs in his bag to be able to use all those different arm angles and still find completions. So you love that. Alex, I am sorry that it's not working for you. I don't think I have any, just double checking. But Alex, if you ask your question, regardless of whether it's a super chat or not, hit me up and I will ask it. Monday night, 48-47. Man, Chiefs offense, Chiefs team as a whole, not playing great football at the moment. So yeah, that becomes an interesting one. Does anyone know what the Taylor Swift update is? Is Taylor going to be in Green Bay? I think she has some overseas stuff last I checked, but I don't know. Maybe you guys probably know better than I do if Taylor's going to be in Green Bay or not. I don't know that it's been like egregious, has it? Does somebody have batted down balls for Jordan so far? I feel like I don't actually remember that many batted balls at the line of scrimmage. And if anything, Gary, I feel like if you go back and watch, there's many times where he's actually bending it around players to avoid getting the balls batted down. So I don't have a huge issue with it. I think there's a couple times where he probably doesn't need it, but man, he's playing great football. I'm not going to complain too much either way. EA, thank you so much for that. Oh, that was the Washington game someone mentioned. Okay. Yeah, Chiefs haven't scored any second half points in 3 straight games. Yeah, it's been a struggle for them. And listen, this league can catch up with you fast. It can catch up with you really, really fast. And I think the Chiefs are missing guys like Tyreek Hill right now and some of those big time playmakers on offense. They usually go through this and then they kind of figure some things out as the end of the year goes along. So hopefully Casey has one more sputtering game on offense and then before they start figuring some things out towards the end of the year. Praise the waxing gibbous. I am with you. All right. So Alex was this. All right. At this point, what do you think will be the first position addressed in the draft? Happy Thanksgiving. And thanks for everything you do, Andy. Appreciate it, Alex. I did a whole episode on this for Pack-A-Day podcast members. So if you want to sign up, it is available for all members. You could just sign up one time, but I go through literally everything from position 1 through position 11 and rank them in order of importance. Number 1 is best player available, but I had offensive line as number 1 on my list for a variety of reasons. Yosh Nijman, John Runyon Jr., free agents. You cannot count on David Bakhtiari at all, regardless of what happens from here on out. You just can't go into the season being like, yep, we feel good about David Bakhtiari starting 17 games for us. That's not a realistic world that you're living in at that point. So you can't trust Bakhtiari. Nijman's gone. Nijman and Runyon are free agents. And you theoretically, we basically saw the starting lineup at times in this game where you get Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Sean Ryan, and Zach Tom is your probably projected starting 5 next year, but you need depth. You love competition for Rashid at left tackle. You love competition at center for Josh Myers, and you love competition for Sean Ryan at right guard. And again, you need some depth there as well. So that's where I'm at right now. Andy, I'm rewatching the first drive and the pass to Watson was underthrown. Still Watson love. Everyone showed up. Yeah, I think so as well. But again, it's a long throw. I'll have to look at it a little bit more. Ryan did get snaps today. They went down and scored a field goal on his drive, and then they immediately took him out again. So he's good for one scoring drive a game. And then they're like, we don't want to jinx this. We put him in, we get to score, and then we're going to take him out. It's probably not fair to the rest of the league if they would play him on every single drive because it's just guaranteed points every single time. So I think that has to be the reason, because I can't really come up with anything as to why he is behind John Runyon Jr. at the moment. I will say last game, he did not have a great drive, the one that he was in. The game before that, he did. It looked like he was solid in this one, but we'll see what the tape says when we get the all 22. Did I agree with the decision? Yeah, it's indoors, no wind, and Anders allegedly has a huge leg. I don't know if it's just a mishit. You're certainly not expecting him to miss it to the point where there's a return. In hindsight, knowing that there could have been a return, I probably would have said maybe just leave it and don't do anything. Maybe take the Hail Mary instead. But at the time, I certainly liked the decision, and you can't always live in hindsight. They didn't have a turkey leg for Love? Well, that's because freaking Greg Olson was tearing into it and like being like creep handing the turducken for some reason. Like he went after that thing. Excuse me. I don't know what the heck that was. Time to go on a run. Go Pack, go. Listen, like we said, even if they lost the 2 to the Lions and the Chiefs, right? That would have brought them to 4-8 with 5 winnable games left, with a like semi-legitimate chance to go 9-8. Now you sit at 5-6 right now. Even if we assume a loss to the Chiefs, which I assumed a loss to the Lions, and that didn't happen. But even if we assume a loss to the Chiefs and you go 5-7, you've got 5 winnable games to potentially get you to 10 wins. Even if you win 4 of them, you're 9-8. You can't take anything for granted. This is still a team that can beat a lot of teams like the Lions and like other teams that we saw throughout this year that they did lose to. They could have beat those. Like they're going to fluctuate still. There's going to be games that they should win that they don't, games that they maybe shouldn't win that they do. But man, you're looking at the rest of the way. You need to go 4-3 the rest of the way. So they're 5-6. Sorry, they're 5-6 right now. They need to go 4 and probably 2 the rest of the way. 4-2. So 4-2 the rest of the way to have a chance at going 9-8 and sneaking in the playoffs. If you're going to go 4-2, you need one of those wins to be against Minnesota. But you now get maybe a little bit of accident forgiveness the rest of the way. If you do slip up in one of those games where if you lost to the Lions and lost to the Chiefs, you needed to be perfect in those 5 games. Now you might have a little bit of leeway there, which is probably good for a Green Bay team that is still young, still beat up, and you don't know what you're going to get in any given week. 52. Yep. He was massive and really enjoyed that game for Rashan Gary for sure. No, I don't think they need to look at a kicker, Joe. I think you live with some of these issues with a rookie kicker. You kind of knew what you were getting yourself into. There's a handful of really good kickers out there. And the truth is that you're like any kicker that you find on the market right now. I get Mason's out there. I totally get that. Let's say this, if they made the playoffs, like, could you look at maybe bringing Mason in for a playoff push or something like that when you're like, all right, now it matters. Not like now we have to win games, maybe. But a lot of time, and who knows if like Mason's in rhythm when you bring him in. I lean at this point still with going through Anders, and hopefully he just kind of evens out and can start getting on a consistent approach and path again moving forward. Does Heath need more snaps even with Wicks back? Seems like we might have 5 legit wide receivers, add a stud offensive tackle and a dynamic running back in the draft to the moon. Waxing moon? Yeah, I like Malik Heath. I think he provides something different. I think the thing I love about these 5 wide receivers is they're all extremely different wide receivers. You have what you always talk about in your receiver room is you want a basketball lineup, right? You want a center, power forward, small forward, shooting guard, and a point guard. You want all different flavors. You want all different shapes and sizes, all guys that bring something different to the table. Christian's your big, super fast guy. Malik Heath is your intimidating run blocker, possession guy. Romeo Dobbs is kind of your all-around wide receiver. You've got Jaden Reed as your gadget, do it, like explosive playmaking, hand it off to him, get him in the slot, all that sort of stuff, wide receiver. Dontavian Wicks is your route runner extraordinaire, find separation and find space, wide receiver. They all have different skill sets, and I think you can find ways to get all of them in the game. And by the way, like you're usually going to have one of those guys that's banged up more often than not, so having 4 other ones that can step up and play significant playing time, not a bad thing to have either. By the way, congrats to those few who started the Packers defense, got some good numbers. Congrats, Manuel. Good call on that one. Any injuries? I don't think so, Jano, unless somebody else says anything that I missed. Devontae Wyatt went out with a potential concussion, but he came back and played. So clearly he cleared protocol and shouldn't be an issue. Other than the 30 guys that weren't able to play due to injury, I think, knock on wood, they got out of the game relatively, carefree or harm-free, I guess. And we'll see what Monday brings at their next practice and see if some of the guys that were out in this game can start making their way back for that big game against the Chiefs next week. Yeah, I don't think anyone's holding the 63-yarder against Anders. I think everyone's more upset probably with the extra point would be my guess. WHS Pioneer 89. Was it a slow, sputtering offense end to the game or just a good ball control because they scored 9 points in the last 3 quarters, I think? Yeah, I think there were opportunities for the offense, right? You've got the drop by Romeo Dobbs. You've got the potential drop by Jaden Reed towards the end there. I think they were just a little bit off on a couple plays that if they hit those, this game was really close to being like a 43-14 game, legitimately. If like that's what I loved about this game when I came on initially and was all fired up. When you go back and watch that Chargers game, you see a win that probably should have been a loss. In this one, if anything, this one should have been a bigger win based on how they played. Just a couple really quick. You got the Bizarro handoff where Dillon goes the wrong way. You've got the drop by Romeo Dobbs on a key third down, a tough play, but a drop by Jaden Reed on a key third down that would have been an explosive play. Just a couple little things here and there. And if those things go just slightly differently, this is like a 43-14 Packers just domination in that game. So to me, this is a really strong performance. This is one I think we're going to look back at the tape and be like, man, that was really good all the way around. Excited to watch it. I'm sure things are going to be, you're going to look at it and be like, some things didn't go quite as well as we saw, or at least thought in real time. But I'd be shocked if I didn't watch the tape and be really encouraged moving forward, because on the game tape and what we saw live looked pretty freaking impressive. Getting better week to week with Ballantyne and Valentine is nuts. Go Pack Go. I do think the no-name secondary deserves a lot of credit, both for what Joe Barry's done with it and for the guys in the secondary. Valentine and Ballantyne have stepped up huge. You haven't really seen a drop-off, like not a significant one, from Jair and Douglas to Valentine and Ballantyne, which is freaking insane. And obviously not having Eric Stokes either. Keyshawn Nixon will allow a completion every now and again, but he plays pretty solid, consistent football. And then Owens and Anthony Johnson Jr. filling in. Like, again, they're 5 preferred defensive starters in the secondary. Stokes, Jair, Douglas, going back to the start of the year, Savage, and Ford, all not playing. And they somehow get away with that type of performance against the Lions. And going even back, I know there are a lot of drops against the Chargers, but that is some smoke and mirrors stuff from Joe Barry in that defensive backfield. Kudos to them for what they've been able to pull off. Vex, can we draft all offensive linemen in 2024? Need a better running game. By the way, another great performance from Love with no running game. So a couple things. I do think they need to improve the offensive line. To me, Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins are your only sure things on the offensive line right now. You've got 2. The great news is that those 2 guys can play a ton of different positions. So you're not handcuffed and limited with what you're looking for in the draft, but you need to get a bit more physical. If they don't feel comfortable running a tush push on 4th and 1 because they don't think they're going to get the yard, you know that there's issues up front with physicality and being able to get tough yards when you need them. So this offensive line does need a little bit more physicality. Give them credit for the pass pro that they're putting out there, specifically in this game. I thought it was really good. But there does need to be a better level of physicality, and you got to be much better in the running game. That takes everyone. It takes the running backs, the receivers blocking, the tight ends being better blockers, and the offensive linemen. But to me right now, you only have two long-term solutions that we know of in Zach Tom and in Elton Jenkins. Maybe Sean Ryan can be that. Maybe somebody else, Caleb Jones or Luke Tenuta or somebody else could step up long-term. But as of right now, I think the only two that you feel super great about are Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins overall. Richard, haven't had it yet, but I can tell you I'm very, very much looking forward to it. What's the latest news on Stokes? Haven't heard anything. They did not open his practice window yet, though. So it would seem like as soon as they open the window, they'll probably give him a couple weeks to practice and ramp back up. I think you're probably looking more towards an end of the year. And even then, I don't know that he just immediately gets on the field on defense. I don't know how much they upset the apple cart right now in the secondary to get him back out there. That's going to be an interesting decision for them as well. But it seems like it would still be at least a couple weeks away, but we'll have to wait and see. Dalton, you go ahead and be unsufferable, my friend. Make everyone hear your voice. Oh my goodness, Dan. Thank you very, very much. Super, super kind of you. Great win. I am drunk with love. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for all the amazing content. Here's something for an extra large. My assumption, Barry back for sure now. That is amazing, Dan. And yes, I might get, you know what? I'm going to splurge for extra cheese now, to say the least. That is super, super nice of you. Yeah, that stuff always, like, I don't even know how to say thank you in those situations, honestly, because it's so freaking kind of you guys. As far as the second part of your question, because I do want to take that part seriously, is Barry back for sure now? He's definitely trending in that direction. And I will say it one more time. Do not kill the messenger. I'm not saying, as of right now, I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm being honest. I do feel like there's times where it's so frustrating. Like, we all know it's so frustrating at times, and you want it a little bit different. But I'll be damned if this team isn't, right near the top in scoring defense. I'll be damned if they don't get it away somehow, some way against the Chargers and Lions with pretty impressive defensive performances. I'll be damned if they're not figuring out ways to get stops with Corey Ballantyne and Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon and Anthony Johnson Jr. and Jonathan Owens in the defensive backfield. I don't know. I really don't. Like, everything in my being, and I think sort of the eye test still goes to, like, I don't think this is good enough, and I think it needs to be something different. And is this like almost a bad thing where they're playing just good enough to not go in a different direction? I fully feel that and get that. At the same time, there's a good chance you bring somebody else in and it's just worse. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I think the rest of the season is still an audition for Joe Barry. But if you told me right now the season ended today, season's over, is Joe Barry back or not? My guess would be yes. If they didn't fire him the last couple of seasons, he's probably doing better in this year than he did in the last couple of seasons. So I don't know. My guess is yes, but it's a really interesting conversation. And I know some people aren't going to be happy to to hear that. Maybe Joe Barry will become a head coaching candidate somewhere now. Maybe. Anthony Johnson has to play when everyone gets back. That's an interesting conversation as well. My guess, I don't know. Well, because Jonathan Owens had a good day today. I don't know what their pecking order at safety is going to be right now. Really don't. My guess is they still like Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage. That would be my guess, is they're 1 and 2. As far as 3, whether they would go with Anthony Johnson Jr. or Jonathan Owens, that I don't know. I think that's probably more up for grabs. But I don't know. That's it. They love their veterans. They really do. They love their, the players that they know what they're going to get from them. I do think Anthony Johnson Jr. has played good enough to be in the conversation. And I think there should be some competition there. I don't know. That'll be really interesting if and when everyone is back, what they do in that specific situation. Matt, best special teams game today. I don't know if I can quite get there with the missed extra point. I don't think there was anything else too egregious, was there? I think mostly outside of that, I think it was a pretty good game. I don't think there's anything like crazy good. Couple punts downed right in there's the one play that they did a great job downing it at the 2-yard line. I think it was Rochelle and Zane Anderson combined for that. Zane Anderson quietly turning into a really fantastic special teams player right before our eyes, by the way. That's been kind of a fun development, and I think really what allowed them to release Dallin Levitt as well. So Yeah, it was a good game. Sure. Well, why not? We'll say it. Best special teams performance of the year. Let's do it. Barry is crabgrass. You can't kill it. Yeah, there's definitely a level to that. He just finds ways to keep surviving, and kudos to him for that. That's not an easy thing to do. He got a third defensive coordinator job after having 2 failed stints, stuck around for 3 years already, and probably is on to year 4. Yeah, he comes up every now and again, but there have been times where this defense, if you go back to the last 5-6 games of last year and combine it with like this year so far, the points allowed per game is actually eerily impressive. They've had some pretty good circumstances with who they faced in those situations, but it's kind of sneaky good, which is kind of crazy. And like I said, I literally cannot reconcile it. I really can't. I can't reconcile of like statistically they're a pretty good defense, but like stylistically I kind of hate it. I don't know. I literally fight with myself of like whether or not like maybe this is just a good enough defense, especially because they don't have great players on defense outside of Rashan Gary. And I don't know. It's a really, really, really difficult conversation. And we're just going to have to kind of evaluate everything as the rest of the year goes along. Barry sucks, but one blue chip player on defense makes it rather tough ask. Yeah, I think that's real. And that's one of the things that I've been pressing really hard for as well, is like the only player on defense that's playing close to like a Pro Bowl level is is Rashan Gary. Kenny Clark's played well. Nobody's playing at like an all pro level. And I have 3 players going into this game really playing well on defense, graded well. Rashan Gary, Kenny Clark, and Rasul Douglas. That's it. There's not many players that are graded well. And maybe some of that is Joe Barry and the positions that he's putting them in. That's a possibility. But I think the players need to play better. And when we see players play well, it's crazy how this defense kind of looks pretty competent at times. We got an extend Joe Barry. Barry is God. Yeah, we'll see. CT, thank you so much for that. Really kind of you. I really appreciate all these super chats. That's, I think, 29 super chats already. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you for making this a really fun Thanksgiving. Maybe we would have had 5 blue chippers if someone else coached them. Okay, let's play that out, right? That might be true. That might be true. Joe Barry's job is not to coach them. The position coach's job is to coach them and get the most out of them. Joe Barry's job is not to coach them. He is to put the scheme together. He does need to put players in positions to succeed, but like for the most part, it's not like players are playing super out of position in Joe Barry's defense. To me, that's a coaching staff on a whole issue. That's not specifically a Joe Barry issue. Carl Brooks and Jaden Reed, I'm assuming, show up every week. They do. And that continues to be something that's really, really exciting for this team, is you can see the young players growing right in front of our eyes. And it's unfortunate that Musgrave has the injury, because I thought he was really coming on, but that allows more time for Tucker Kraft. Jaden Reed, hopefully Dontavian Wicks can get back next week. Carl Brooks is showing out. Carrington Valentine is taking a pick 6 to the house at some point this year. Like, he is taking one to the house. He is so close. He's so great at jumping routes. It's going to happen. He's just been a hair off on a couple plays, but it will happen before the season is out. I'm going to say right now, Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay, Carrington Valentine, pick 6 on Baker Mayfield in Green Bay. Mark it down right now. Go talk to your sports bookie. Don't do that. Never take my advice on gambling, by the way, ever. Go the opposite direction. But I'm going to say Carrington Valentine, pick 6 versus Baker Mayfield. Happy Thanksgiving. Is there anything to the idea of switching Myers and Running's position? Less physical for Running, and Myers can think less, play more. I said in the offseason, I would have liked to have seen Josh Myers get some time at guard. That was back, though, when I would have liked Zach Tom to maybe compete at center. I no longer want Zach Tom to compete at center. He's far too good of a right guard or right tackle. I do not want him moved in any capacity. He's too good of a player where he's at right now. Don't mess with it. So I don't think you have a better backup center. I wouldn't switch Running and Myers. I don't think that really fixes anything, to be honest. But I do think there might be something to playing Myers at guard instead of center. But at this point in the season, it's not something I would probably mess with too much. Mark, thank you as well for the super chat. Very, very kind of you. This game makes me think Jordan Love can carry the offense to wins. I get it. This was awesome. This was a ton of fun from Jordan Love. Mirko, What's your Thanksgiving pizza? Mine comes with spicy Italian sausage. Keep up the amazing work. Happy Victory Pizza Day from Switzerland. Switzerland, that's awesome. Switzerland is very high on my to-do list. I finally got outside of the country this year. Went to Italy. I did get up to Lake Como, so I got close. It was the most gorgeous place I've ever been to in my life, by the way. Went up to Lake Como, and then we went up to Bellagio from there. Just like, if you see pictures of a place and you say like a picture can't do it justice, that is Lake Como and Bellagio to a T. Like, you cannot take pictures of that place and do it justice. But it was my first time out of the country. Beyond loved it. And now Switzerland, very, very high on my list to get to next. So Marco, if I get there, maybe we can do you can give me the best Switzerland pizza joint known to man. Happy to meet you out there. But my favorite pizza is mushroom and onion, believe it or not. Pickiest eater in the world. Yet somehow my favorite pizza is mushroom and onion. Love mushrooms, love onions, love them on a pizza. Onion is my favorite pizza topping. Don't know why. Just goes so insanely well. But I like pepperoni. I like sausage. I love basil on a pizza. No question. I like a lot of stuff on pizza, but my favorite is mushroom and onion, extra cheese. A little basil too. Love basil. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, Andy. Jordan Love is my guy. I think he's a lot of people's guys today, Mark. And thank you so much for the chat, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys as well. No jalapenos, Gary. No jalapenos. I love spicy food, by the way. Love spicy food. I don't like just like peppers. Like, I'll eat all the spicy food in the world, but like just eating a pepper, I don't know. It's probably just because I don't like vegetables and it's just too vegetable-y for me, but I do really love spicy food. Assuming Jordan Love is the future, I guess I'm stuck with Matt LaFleur for at least 5 years. I don't know if you're stuck with Matt LaFleur. Like, that doesn't seem like such a bad thing right now. Give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit for getting this turned around. Guys, I cannot stress enough the way things were going last year when they lost 7 out of 8 games. And then I think they were in Chicago down down 2 scores going into the fourth quarter, if memory serves, like with almost nothing left to play for. That team could have folded a million times over, and they go on a 4-game winning streak and give themselves an opportunity to get in the playoffs. That team never quit. And they were given like multiple handouts to just be like, guys, it's time to quit. Like, nobody, I think, even would have blamed them the way that season was going. But Matt LaFleur kept them together. They didn't quit. They made a run towards the end of the year, and they were this close to getting in the playoffs. That Matt LaFleur deserves credit for that. And then this year too, like, things were not going great. You could tell he was frustrated. Everyone was frustrated. And you really went into, like, we were literally talking about if they lose to the Chargers, the Lions, and the Chiefs. And I said it numerous occasions, you're looking at losing 7 of 8 games or something like that, 8 of 9 games, and really being in an awful spot. And instead, they go out, they get the win against the Chargers, they get the win against the Lions, and this is an entirely different team. And just a ton of credit to Matt LaFleur for getting those things turned around, and pretty expeditiously, because that doesn't always happen. And those things are hard to do. They changed some things up with their practice schedule. They were not afraid to make changes. He came up big, and he's deserving for a lot of credit right now. Just as much as he was deserving of blame earlier in the year when some things were not going great, right now he deserves a whole hell of a lot of credit for getting this thing turned back around. Alexander, thank you so much for that as well. I know, Gary, I don't pretend to make any sense of my taste buds. All right. This is a great question. This is probably like one where you want to end the chat with, because this is a great one. There's nothing wrong with pineapple on a pizza. All right. Nothing wrong. You can put it on there. That's fine. I could probably think of about 50 different toppings that I would rather have on my pizza rather than pineapple. So it's not like it's like this egregious decision. It's not like it's terrible or brutal or like but you're just doing it wrong, because there's like 50 different toppings that would be so much better than pineapple on pizza. So it's fine. It's fine, but it's not ideal. It's like Joe Barry. Joe Barry is pineapple on pizza. It's fine. In a moment where you're kind of drunk and you need something, sure, give me a pineapple pizza. It'll be fine. It'll go down smooth. But if I had my choice, there's probably about 50 different options that I would go with instead of it. So yeah, that's my analogy on pineapple pizza. It's very hard to come up with a bad pizza. Very, very hard to come up with a bad pizza. Sarah, thanks so much for the chat. When biting kneecaps goes wrong, Dan Campbell's arrogance backfired. He got his kneecaps bit off instead. Well said. Like that a lot. I really like his aggressive style. I thought them going for it on all the fourth downs, like that's what you want from a coach in that situation and scenario. But yeah, they did not come up with those fourth downs. And Dan Campbell is one of those coaches where if you're not careful, you can have a short shelf life. Like people will fight to the death for you. It's kind of like a Rex Ryan where they will fight to the death for you for like 3, 4, maybe 5 years. But then things start going in a different direction. And everyone immediately is like, remember all these weird decisions that coach made? And is like, is he really the guy? And then people sour on him really quick. I really like Dan Campbell. I think he's doing a great job. I think that team is really still headed in the right direction. But if you're not careful, some of that stuff can backfire very, very fast. So we'll see what happens in Detroit and Dan Campbell. Yeah, that I don't understand. Like you could tell, it's so funny because when they came out on that play, I'm like, I was literally thinking in my head, man, this feels like a fake. Like this feels like a situation where Dan Campbell would fake this punt. And then I looked at it and I'm like, oh, Green Bay's set up where even if they do fake it, they've got this covered easy. And you never know because sometimes they come up with really creative stuff on a fake punt. And even if you've got everything covered, they may have found some trick or hole that like works one time. Like, so you never quite know. But as soon as I saw that fake, I'm like, oh yeah, because they were ready for it. They were not fooled by it at all. Henry Pearson did such an amazing job of setting the edge on that play. Everyone rallied to the football. That was a great play by the special teams. And they should have nuked that call. If they didn't have like a green light, red light, as kind of they talked about in the game of like, hey, if we don't get this look, just punt it away. If they didn't have that, then you got to call a timeout and be like, abort, we do not do this. Because you end up looking like the Pat McAfee play where they snap it and there's nowhere to go. Just not a great play for Detroit on that one. Yeah, the punt, yeah. I mean, I don't think it was gifted because Green Bay still had to be prepared for that. We've seen Green Bay not be prepared for those type of plays on numerous occasions in the past. So bad, dumb play by Detroit, but credit Green Bay for being ready for it. That has not always been the case. Andy, could you do a video episode comparing players, coaches to pizza toppings? Would love your expert analysis. Richard, I will take that under advisement and see what I can do. We got Washington Dallas started 5 minutes in, 0-0. All right, guys. I think that's going to probably do it for me pretty quick here. Any final questions on anything? We went over an hour. That was like the fastest hour that I've ever done live, I think. Other than maybe the draft day episodes. Those went really fast as well, but this was a lot of fun. And 35, I think, super chats and stickers and everything. So you guys are beyond amazing. And as I said in my pregame show, so thankful for all of you and just making this the coolest freaking Packers community and just for the platform and the opportunity to talk Packers. Like I said at the onset, it means a ton to me. So thankful for all of you. Thankful for the entire Pack-A-Day podcast team and just the opportunity to cover this team 365 days a year. So go get yourself some Thanksgiving pizza. I know I'm going to do the same. Going to be watching the rewatch as soon as I'm done here. Then hopefully the all 22 is out by like 5:30 tonight is my hope, and going to go through and do the all 22. Vex, man, you come through every single week. Appreciate that as well. Guys, have an amazing Thanksgiving. Thank you for all the super chats, your generosity, your patronage, your support of the podcast. Check out Pack-A-Day podcast memberships if you haven't already. Enjoy the freaking win. Go get some Thanksgiving pizza. I'll see you guys soon. But until next time, and as always, go Pack, go.